Alchemy is the process of refining ourselves through the process of refining a material in a laboratory. The most iconic metaphor for this is, of course, the Philosopher's Stone, the thing that's said to transmute lead into gold and grant the user eternal life. Of course, many medieval alchemists took this completely literally, and history is full of people trying to do impossible miracles that nature would never have allowed to occur. But our modern understanding of alchemy is usually more the metaphorical one. And I can't get through this without a teleprompter, so I'm going to have to read it to you. The more modern understanding of alchemy is that it operates through a series of nested metaphors meant to guide the practitioner on a spiritual journey. The destination is not literal immortality, but the living realization that eternal life was never something that needed to be acquired. It was always yours. You just had to remember. But that tends to come later on down the path, after the alchemist has learned to turn lead into gold. Not one metal into another, literally, but the lead of the unrefined self into the gold of a refined one. I myself have already completed this work, and now sit before you as a 306-year-old man. Just kidding, I'm a 32-year-old guy screwing around in my kitchen. I'm screwing around in my kitchen. Oh, yeah, and I don't believe in bodily immortality. I actually believe more in an unbrokenness of our consciousness after we die that might carry on into our next incarnation. Alchemy teaches through process, through repetition, through refining protocols slowly over time. It's not about belief. The lab doesn't care what you believe, and it can't lie to you. It can only produce something as pure as you know how to make it. And the quality of that product serves as a mirror, reflecting back to you the quality of your own inner state. As you work on the medicine works on you. It's a feedback loop. You apply heat, time, restraint, and attention. Then you watch what happens. You analyze the result, and you make the adjustment. You learn to read subtler and subtler cues as you go. Did I overshoot the temperature and cause a surge in the boiler? Are there burnt notes in the essential oil? Did my medicine lose potency because I picked the herbs before they were ready? That might point to my own impatience. Forgetting a step may be a lapse in mindfulness. Breaking equipment or making a mess can reflect unbridled chaos in the inner self. This isn't something to beat yourself up over. It's just honest information. It's your lab responding to you. What matters is how you respond to your lab. Do I need to temper my inner fire with earth? Well, I can do that with a sand bath. Does it need further smoothing? Maybe adding a source of nucleation sites in the boiler will help regulate the vapor. This is how the material refines us, and how our response further refines the material. It's an immediate feedback loop contained within the laboratory. It teaches you the same presence you'd learn in a monastery, but you get essential oils and you don't have to take a vow of celibacy. The lab is a microcosm of your macrocosmic life. Here, you can clearly observe cause and effect, stimulus and response. As you learn to stabilize things in the lab, you learn to stabilize yourself in rush hour traffic. The inner world and outer world mirror each other. Alchemy teaches this principle directly. The Hermetic principle of correspondence. Smaller things are like greater things are like smaller things. As within, so without. As above, so below. This isn't superstition. It's something every religion and most enduring philosophies have tried to teach and preserve. We acknowledge the same four elements in alchemy too, that you'd hear about in Eastern philosophy or Wicca or the wisdom of certain indigenous cultures, but we work with them in a laboratory. The water in the still, the earth of the material we're refining, the fire of the heating mantle, the air that carries vapor through the condenser, only to be cooled by water once again. It's all a dynamic interplay between the elements, heating them, cooling them, separating them, and putting them back together. These processes mirror our own inner workings. We learn how to balance our minds, bodies, and spirits, and emotions through the practice of balancing the four elements in the lab. The first distillation is usually just orientation. The deeper lessons come through repetition, the second, third, and fourth pass, each pass further purifying the substance, as well as the practitioner. Traditionally, you would do a total of 7 runs. Modern life is fast-paced and made abstract by overcomplexity. We're also disconnected from the cycles we're meant to observe in nature. Our food comes from the store, our electricity comes from a hole in the wall, and our waste is carried out of sight. We no longer commune with the cycles of nature and power our infrastructure through windmills and water wheels. We no longer sit by fires or pay attention to the stars. But all those things have great wisdom to teach us. I love alchemy because it urges you to observe and learn from cycles, elements, and sometimes even the stars, depending on which texts you're reading. And it takes up only as much room as a tabletop. My lab is also a quiet sanctuary where I can pass the time in self-reflection by candlelight. It also gives me a path and a way to measure progress over time. I share this with you here, not to make converts, but to offer something to those who are curious. Alchemy connects us to a lineage of experimenters that laid the groundwork for chemistry and pharmacology. Using modern tools doesn't feel like a betrayal of that lineage. It feels like continuation. I myself actually learned the practice from a 72-year-old alchemist in a large extraction lab, using state-of-the-art equipment. There's a reason that practice has been preserved to this day, even if only by a few practitioners. And I mentioned before, that's true. Yeah, I learned this from an older man who'd been practicing it for a long time, and I was working for a company as a lab tech, but we ran a modern commercial lab as an alchemical lab using the principles that alchemists have been coming up with or refining or defining for generations. I don't think alchemy is going anywhere. I predict we'll see a resurgence of this type of thinking in the mainstream one day. As scientists continue pulling at the threads that make up the fabric of reality, I think they'll eventually learn to revere it as the old alchemists once did. This is another cycle, one of solve et coagula, to take apart and to put back together. Alchemists had spiritual aspirations. Modern scientists have divorced spiritual thinking from scientific pursuit. That's solve it. But I think we'll remember what we've forgotten one day and bring the sacredness back into the mundane. We don't have to lose the sacred to cold, clinical, scientific thinking. We can preserve a tradition that unites symbolism and rigorous experimentation. It's not just a series of experiments, it's a lifelong path, and you get to walk it for the rest of your life. If you'd like to learn more, here's a video on how to make a sand bath. You'll probably need one after you get your first distillation kit. Or, if you just want to see me work on something in the lab, here's a nice relaxing video.